If you told me 5 years ago that I would end my career in corporate beauty and be going to school for mortuary science, working in funeral homes, I literally would not have believed you. But here I am, and that is exactly what I'm doing. In part one of this video, I talked about why I left the world of corporate beauty, and today I'm going to be telling you how I got into the world of funeral service and all the steps it kind of took me to realize that this is what I wanted to do. Hi, I'm Madison. If you're new here, welcome to my channel, and if you've been here before, welcome back. I would love to have you stick around to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and come chat with me over on Instagram. Let's hang out there. Okay, guys, so the big question, how do you go from corporate beauty, living in New York City, going to FIT, fashion, beauty, fashion week, working with beauty products, fragrance, to working in a funeral home and moving to suburbia? In a weird way, in a very unexpected way, actually a lot of overlap is there. You might not think of it off the top of your head, but I promise you there's actually some overlap, and I'm able to use skills from my past career in this current career, which is super, super cool. So yes, I am becoming a funeral director. I have about 3 semesters of school left. I have been working at a funeral home for almost 2 years now, and I have never been so sure about something. Because even with beauty, there was that little voice in my head of like, what if you change your mind? What if this isn't forever? What if you don't find a job you like? But with funeral service, it just feels so right. And getting here was a very interesting journey. So obviously in my last video, I talked about walking away from cosmetics, beauty, FIT, my degree, and how that was entirely my identity until I sort of realized that it was not right for me. I lost someone close to me, Regis, and once he died, I just rethought my purpose and what drove me and what mattered to me, and beauty really ranked very low on that list. So obviously losing someone close to me, and this I feel like is true for a lot of people who get into funeral service, there's usually a pretty big why, right? Like when people ask me why, I just basically tell them, I lost someone to suicide. I want to be the person for other families that I didn't get in that time. Whether it's a suicide, whether it's cancer, whether it's an accident, whether it's some sort of quote unquote natural death, right? Like I want to be there for families. I've also always longed for a career that's very fulfilling, and this is obviously very much up that alley. How it actually happened in real time was I had moved back upstate after deciding to kind of close the beauty chapter, and I started freelancing. I was editing videos and podcasts and doing social media content creation for some local businesses because that was my bread and butter. It still kind of is. I am good at it. I know how to edit. And so I was at an event with one of my clients, and I met someone there who's a funeral director, and she basically told me, hey, you should come shadow me at my job sometime. And so I did. And I just knew the first day that I was where I was meant to be. And somehow through all of the mess that was realizing my career was quote unquote over in beauty, it somehow led me here. It was my first day working at a funeral home, seeing what goes on. I was inspired, I was moved, and I felt this spark of belonging and fulfillment that I have literally never felt. That was huge for me. It was this realization of, okay, this journey is not over and there's still something out there for me. Like, I need to figure out if I actually want to do this, if I understand all the moving parts, and if I'm willing to commit entirely. And so that's when the journey of figuring out next steps started to unfold. I looked into what it takes to become a licensed funeral director. Every state is different. In New York State, you do need an associate's degree in mortuary science, and then you do your exams. Then you go into your residency, which is a year long, working for a funeral home, really learning everything hands-on, and then you get your license. It's a long process, but I figured, what else am I doing? Like, I'm literally gonna start, and I'm gonna work in funeral homes to really know if this is something I want to invest into in terms of my education. And very quickly, I realized it was. So I'm very lucky that I live super close to a school that offers mortuary science. I know it's kind of hard to find. There's also a school in Manhattan, which I did debate going back to school there. But in terms of like living expenses and all of that, it wasn't realistic to me. I think now I'm in a place where upstate New York is actually the perfect place to do this. I can really lock in, and there's a lot of different places I can work. So that's great. And a lot of family-owned places, where the city, it's a lot of corporate-owned places. So it's different. So I worked calling hours. I worked church services. I did basically everything I can legally do without a license, and I'm in school now. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And working with families, being there to support people through their darkest times, knowing that they have someone they can lean on and count on, even when things feel impossible. It's so, so, so important. And I actually had the opportunity to talk to the funeral director that was in charge of Regis's services. And that was a really moving experience for me. And just, going to the funeral directors convention, meeting other people, realizing that funeral directing is a very, very special group of people who may have gone through something and have this passion to help others. And I'm so glad that I found it. I'm so glad that I found it. And like I said before, it was the most unexpected thing ever. Like, I never could have seen this for myself. Though I do remember when I was like 7 years old, I said to my mom that I wanted to do makeup on dead people. I never came back to that after like having that conversation with my mom. So it's not entirely out of left field, but it's just, I never actually saw myself fully pursuing this and loving it as much as I do. It is kind of funny though, because whenever I tell people what I do for work, they're like, oh, this makes so much sense. So I guess like a little summary of what it means to be a funeral director. If you don't know, because a lot of people actually don't know, they often just assume that I am like doing the paperwork behind the scenes or whatever. But funeral directors do everything from coming to your home and picking up your loved one that passed, bringing that person back into the care of the funeral home, and then doing any preparation, whether it's prepping them for cremation or embalming and cosmetics and dressing, casketing, all of that. So we literally are morticians, undertakers, however you want to put it, and then actually meeting with families, planning services, whether we're doing something at the funeral home, at the church, carrying out all the services, and then bringing their loved one to their final place of rest. So that does include a lot of paperwork, a lot of being on the phone, being on the computer, organizing, going through a lot of legal stuff, right? But then also the body preparation, restorative art, embalming, all of that. And then just being with the families, working calling hours, driving processions. There's so many things. So that is kind of the gist, but ultimately we take your loved one into our care and we take it from there for you to completely prepare everything for their final resting place. This was so not part of my original plan. And it's very interesting too, to like work so long for a career that was so draining and not creative, and it didn't make me feel connected to the world around me. It made me feel like a villain and someone who was contributing to a larger problem, where with funeral service, I do feel like I am making such a big difference, like going to pick up a loved one from their place of death, being in a family's home in such a vulnerable, sacred time. It's an unreal moving experience. I get full body chills just thinking about it, being there as a family, as saying goodbye to one of their favorite people. It's hard, it's emotionally intense, but it is really, really deep, meaningful work. That's just something that I feel very lucky to be a part of. And I think also my own grief has really led me here. I think a lot of us can understand, like when you lose someone so incredibly important to you, where it completely shifts your world. You can no longer look at things the same ever again. And a part of you dies with that person. So your passions might change, your friend groups might change, things you once enjoyed might completely change. And we have to learn to be okay with that and to accept that and to also nourish that part of ourselves that is ready to let go and move into something new. So that is kind of why I'm becoming a funeral director, just being there for families, having fulfilling, deep, meaningful work. And it really does feel like the plan I was ultimately meant to find at some point. Cosmetics never felt fully right. There was always something in the way. There's always these roadblocks. But with funeral directing, there's, it is not an easy career path. You're working 24/7. As we speak, I am on call, so I could get called at any moment to have to go do a pickup. It's an exhausting job. You deal with a lot of heavy stuff, a lot of graphic stuff, but at the end of the day, all of that, at least for me, is worth it for what I get to do for these families. That to me is priceless and it's sacred. Like I said, you gotta be a tough one. And especially as a woman in the field, that's a whole other conversation, but it's a lot harder of a path for women, queer people. It is hard, okay? I don't want to make it sound like this is a walk in the park, because this is hard. And there are so many times where I come home from work crying for one reason or another, or just defeated and let down. And the amount of times I've got home and just said to Jake, I don't know if I can do this anymore, is more than I can count. But the thing for me that drives me is that trade-off, right? Like, all these terrible things happen at every job. And sometimes you leave with that terrible thing, and there's nothing to combat that. In funeral service, there are some things that suck, but at the end of the day, the family is here and they are holding your hand and telling you how grateful they are. And you know that you started their grief journey off on the right foot. What more in life could I actually want other than to be a part of a community, to help the people around me, and to give them the utmost support and compassion and solitude that I can. Oh my God, that's I literally have full body chills. It's amazing work. So if you want to follow along my journey through mortuary school, getting my license, all the things, definitely subscribe. Hang out here on my channel. I don't know how much I'm actually going to talk about my career going forward, because I like my channel to be a place that's fun and lighthearted, and I still love fashion, I still love beauty, and I want a place for my passions to live. There are going to be things that I want to share, and so you can find them here, and just to follow me along my journey. I know so many of you have seen me through so many careers, so many phases, so many eras, and I get so many messages from you guys telling me that I've inspired you in some way to take that step, or to change your life, or to do what you're passionate about. And that means so much to me, and it keeps me going. If you want to stick around to hear more about what twists and turns I have in the future, because I'm sure there's going to be plenty, definitely subscribe, hang out here, and I would love to have you. And of course, I am planning on moving back to New York at some point. It feels like a pipe dream, but every day it's getting more and more realistic. Fingers crossed, and that's really it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from it, and I'm just so grateful that you're here on this journey with me. You've always been, literally since I was 11 years old when I started YouTube. That also to me is priceless, so thank you for being here. And my next video, we're getting back to our regularly scheduled content, lifestyle, beauty, fashion, all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you so soon in my next video. I love you all so much. Thank you for loving me back, and I will see you next time. Bye.